Hey, aloha everybody. How are you this evening? My name is Athena Moberg. Welcome to live Q&A here at Trauma Recovery University, where we show up every single week and we all hang out together live, and you have questions about your healing journey and I attempt to answer them. I want to really quickly just thank all of the volunteers that are here. Thank you to Kalisha. Thank you to Dawn. Thank you to Matt. Thank you to Jody, who always tweets out everything. Thank you to Poppy from Poppy's Mission. And thank you just for being here, you guys. You guys are amazing. So for all of you here on Roku and YouTube, I am also broadcasting on Periscope and Facebook. And this particular topic is one that comes up. I get an email about something similar to no contact, whether what is no contact, or is it considered no contact if I still do this, or what if I'm not able to go no contact, Athena? What do I do? Am I going to heal? Am I ever going to heal? I always get these questions on a very regular basis. So I decided to finally cover this topic. Also in preparation for the Narcissistic Abuse Virtual Summit, the Healing from Narcissistic Abuse Virtual Summit, which is coming up on Thursday of this week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, in 3 days, I'll be here live with you guys off and on all day, starting in the afternoon Eastern time. So all the way until the evening. And Bree Shea will be joining me, and Richard Grannon's going to stop by. Angie Atkinson's going to stop by. Lisa E. Scott is going to stop by. I'm going to see if Lisa Romano will stop by. We've already done a whole bunch of interviews with a whole bunch of people. And Pete Walker and I actually have traded voicemails, which is super exciting. So Pete Walker is the author of Complex PTSD, From Surviving to Thriving. If you guys are not familiar with his work, I suggest you really check it out, because it's hugely effective and very, very healing if you implement his principles that he shares in that book. So I want to issue a trigger warning for anyone who has incurred a narcissistically abusive relationship, whether that be a relationship in childhood, whether that be a relationship in adulthood, interpersonal relationship, romantic relationship. If you have someone who is a boss or a coworker, someone whom you believe to be narcissistically abusive. And if this is your first time here on our channel, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited you're here. You might want to take just a moment to Google the term narcissistic abuse and just see if anything sort of matches up for you. And if it doesn't match up for you, then this particular video might not be helpful for you. And then the summit coming up, the virtual summit coming up on Thursday, will probably not be helpful for you either, because it's all surrounding sort of this genre of abuse called narcissistic abuse. And it's when one or more personality disordered, specifically cluster B individuals, goes through the motions of dysregulating us and using psychological warfare, basically, for lack of a more bland term. So no contact, which is tonight's topic, is something that the survivor, the recipient of the narcissistic abuse, it's a best practice that practitioners recommend if you are to regain your sanity or get a very first glimpse of your sanity if you have incurred narcissistic abuse. So I want to issue a trigger warning. This is going to be triggering for anybody who's incurred narcissistic abuse, maltreatment during childhood from someone who could have been personality disordered. And yes, I'm already seeing things pop up. No contact is so hard. It is so hard. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to talk it out, and I'm going to answer your guys' questions. There are a lot of questions out there surrounding the topic of no contact. And I've sort of covered every single topic surrounding no contact without tackling head on the topic of no contact. So I'm really just super glad that you've chosen to be here, and I'm grateful to every single one of you who are tagging survivors that you know, inviting friends and family members, retweeting, sharing with your followers, really jumping on board. And I've had so many of you make different memes and tweet out and welcome anyone that's healing from complex PTSD, or perhaps has been involved in any type of a narcissistically abusive relationship, just thank you for inviting them to the summit. Thank you for sharing, for getting the word out, and just thank you for your support. So special thank you to Brie Bonche and just all of her efforts. I mean, she's just, you guys, there's no other way to say it. Brie is a badass. She's been spearheading this movement for the last year and a half or so. She's contacted the people with the international calendar. There's actually a internationally recognized date for World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day, and that is June 1st, coming up this Thursday. And so, of course, in honor of that day, we're going to be sort of doing like a live telecast, like sort of like a, you know, like a telethon sort of a thing, just raising awareness and answering people's questions. And we're doing a whole bunch of giveaways. So Sandra L. Brown donated 5 copies of her book. And I know Angie Atkinson has some things that she's donated. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Lisa Romano donated some things. Bree donated a few copies of the book called I Am Free. And so yes, thank you. Welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump over and see if you guys already have any questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to dive into content and just explain to you what no contact is, what it entails, what is it not, and then just dive in and begin to answer as many of your questions as possible. So if I lose my voice, you guys, it's because I've been talking a whole lot lately doing these interviews. So just bear with me. Okay, I'm going to take a drink of water. Okay. So special thank you to Dawn and to Matt doing all of the moderating. Thank you to Jack for just his tireless efforts on Storify. And oh, good. It's loud and clear. I'm so happy. Oh, hey. Hey, Dawn. It's so good to see you. Okay. All right. So Paul is back. Welcome back, Paul. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you guys so much for just rallying around all of our newcomers and just making them feel welcome. Paul says, hi, Athena. I have been no contact now for 7 years, but because of flashbacks, I'm very angry. It works, meaning no contact works, but flashbacks spoil my moods. Yes. So, okay, I just want to look over at you, Paul, and I just want to let you know, yes. Flashbacks, especially if they're emotional flashbacks, actual flashbacks where they have physical manifestations, and you can pinpoint exactly what it is that you're flashing back to, or emotional flashbacks, which are physical manifestations, and we're not sure of the exact event that we're flashing back to, but we just know that we have like a physical, like a nausea or a physical symptom when something happens, and we can't pinpoint exactly what that is. That's called an emotional flashback. So yes, Paul, flashbacks will change our mood dramatically, no doubt. And the fact that you've even been able to stay no contact for 7 years is a testament to your bravery, your courage, your tenacity, your strength, your grit, and your badassedness. I'll just use that term. Hopefully my cursing isn't going to upset anybody tonight. I got a whole bunch of hearts last time I cursed. I'm not cursing, so I'll get hearts. But like, you guys, there's not really any other way to say it, but like, you are like straight up ninja if you can stay no contact for 7 years. It is very, very, very hard, especially if we're talking about someone who is within our family of origin, someone who we're related to, a narcissistic parent, a sibling, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin. And it does ruin our moods. The only thing that I would love to tell you, Paul, is allow yourself to get your mood ruined and acknowledge the fact that you're acknowledging yourself in that moment. And you're going, you know what? I know that establishing and maintaining this healthy boundary with this person is what's best for my psyche. I know it's what's best for my sanity. I know that when I'm around this person, I feel physically ill, mentally unwell, and otherwise just not the best possible human I can be. So I'm choosing to establish and maintain this very rigid boundary, healthy boundary with this person who is toxic. And then at the same time, all of a sudden you get whacked like a double whammy with an emotional flashback or an actual flashback to an actual incident. This has happened to me personally. The only thing that's worked for me, Paul, The only thing that's worked for me, you guys, is honoring myself in that moment, asking myself what it reminds me of, owning the fact that it reminds me of a certain instance, and being very kind and very patient and very compassionate with myself in that moment, to the point of nothing else in the whole world matters in this moment, but helping myself feel regulated. Self-regulation is a really big deal. DBT is really good for self-regulation, you guys. So, for instance, something that's very DBT-esque, if you're in the middle of an emotional flashback, really pausing, honoring yourself, honoring your feelings, and look around you and notice and recognize out loud your 5 senses. The walls are off-white. The room is cool. I smell vanilla. My mouth tastes a little bit tinny. I think I'm going to get a drink of water. The touch of this countertop is rough or smooth or cool or warm. And right now in this moment, one thing I'm going to choose to do is blank. And just narrow it down to one thing that you're going to choose to do in that moment. Really just strip everything down, strip the whole world down to your 5 senses and one thing you're going to do in that moment. And I'm telling you, it's the only thing that's helped me, Paul, to not have my emotional or actual flashback. I don't even want to say actual, as though an emotional flashback isn't actual or real. I think what I would prefer to say is a PTSD flashback of an actual event versus an emotional flashback, which is more along the lines of complex PTSD or complex trauma, developmental trauma. So really sitting with your 5 senses, noticing your surroundings in that present moment, and choosing one thing you're going to do for yourself in that moment. And it has helped me to not have my mood ruined for like the whole day. Like, yeah, I'm feeling super crappy in that moment. Sometimes it's very inconvenient to need to step away from the event that I happen to be at. I'm at someone's quinceañera or graduation or baptism or something like that. And I have run into contact with someone who reminds me of the family member that I happen to be no contact with. And I'm in a full-blown emotional flashback. I'm feeling very, very unwell, and I'm needing to pause, look at my surroundings, be fully in my body in that moment, practice some sort of grounding, like a piece of hard candy, run cold water under my hands, hold a piece of ice in my hands, and then just decide to do something, one thing in that moment that is kind for me. And if that means, purchasing a $6 bottle of water that I normally wasn't going to spend $6 on because I happen to just feel like that's going to help me. It'll keep my hands busy. I can play with the cap. It'll help me stay hydrated. It's something that I want, but I wasn't going to spend $6 on a bottle of water because that's just ridiculous. I could buy one four times the size at a convenience store, but I happen to be at an event where they charge $6 for water. So that's just an example, and I hope that's helpful. But a question up on Periscope. Is it okay to step away in that moment, even if others are hurt? Absolutely. That is an excellent question. The only thing that matters in that moment, if you're triggered into an emotional flashback, and in any situation, you don't have to be triggered into an emotional flashback. If you are in a situation where you're around a toxic individual, it is absolutely okay. You have my permission. And I'm certain that you have your practitioner's permission, your therapist, your counselor, your coach. Absolutely step away, even if it hurts somebody else's feelings. If that is what is best for you in that moment, it's absolutely okay to do that for yourself. If you are living with emotional flashbacks or you have been in a narcissistically abusive relationship, chances are, just going out on a limb here, enter sarcasm, your feelings and your reality didn't matter. Chances are your opinion, your life, your reality, your experience of the relationship didn't matter. And it's time for it to matter because guess what? You matter. You do. whether that person recognizes your worth or not and decides that you're worth it or decides that you matter, it doesn't change your worth. It just doesn't. You're worth it. You're worth it. Why? Because we are worth it. You're worth healing because we are worth it. And even if it is, hurting someone else's feelings in the moment, if it's what's best for your sanity, I highly recommend you doing it. So yes, 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 absolutely yes. And I hope that that answer was helpful for you guys. I'm going to go over here and see if there are more questions. That was a great question to start off the night, Paul. And I just want to thank you so much. Joey says, I am done, D-O-N-E, capital letters, done trusting anyone. I went and told who I thought was a friend about how I was feeling about my mother and her boyfriend and how I felt about him. And after I got off the phone with her, my friend, she went back and she called up my mother and told her everything I said. With friends like that, no one needs enemies. I will read on. Then she told my mother to not let her boyfriend be alone with me because I would accuse him of raping me, which leads me to think that she doesn't even believe me about anything that I've ever told her. Like I said, I am done trusting anyone because it just comes back to bite me in the ass. I just want to give up. This just happened over the weekend and I'm still getting troubles over it. Okay. So, Joey, I want to very kindly and compassionately tell you that you deserve better friends. I know that perhaps being raised in an abusive home didn't set you up for choosing healthy friendships, but it doesn't mean that you can't choose healthy friendships now in adulthood. So I want to just tell you that you deserve better friends. I used to have friends like this, Joey. In fact, being raised in the home that I was raised in, that was how I was treated. That was how I was treated by my stepsisters. That was how I was treated by my family of origin. That's how I was treated by my cousins and my aunts and my uncles and even my parents. I was treated exactly how you just described. They were the ones that were sort of stabbing me in the back every chance that they could, because I always wanted to believe the good in them. And it took me quite some time to actually believe that I was worth having better friends. So I'm going to just be the first person, maybe not the first person, but I'm going to be one of those people who's going to tell you that you deserve better friends, Joey. You deserve to have friends that are going to have your back. I can honestly tell you that what you've just described was my reality. It's no longer my reality. The only thing that changed wasn't my family, and it wasn't those other people. The thing that changed was me. I started choosing different friends, and I started choosing to surround myself with different people. And I started having discernment and discerning whether or not someone was a trustworthy person. No one deserves your trust all right off the bat when you first meet them. Trust is earned, and it's earned over time. It's not something that should be expected or given immediately when you first meet somebody. It's just not. So you deserve better friends, and I'm so sorry that you went through what you went through. No one deserves to be treated that way. And I hope you choose healthier, more awesome friends that will never stab you in the back like that and who will have your back. Because while I am very, very sorry that you were treated that way, and I don't believe a word of it, I don't believe that if you were left alone with your mother's boyfriend that you would accuse him of raping you. What I do believe is that perhaps a quote unquote friend, a friend that would treat you that way, first of all, is not a friend. And we've already determined here, us, the people who you hang out with every single Monday, we've already determined that your mother is a toxic individual and that you deserve to be treated better. So I realize that there are some extenuating circumstances and there are some limitations in your situation, but my hope and my prayer is that you will find healthier friends that are not going to treat you that way, and that you will soon begin to cultivate interpersonal relationships that are worth your time and that are healthy and awesome and that are reciprocal. Because relationships that are healthy, you guys, there's reciprocity in those. Reciprocity just means that you treat others the way you want to be treated, and you are treated the way you treat other people. It's reciprocal. So you deserve better, Joey, and we love you unconditionally, and we're glad you keep showing up every single week. And I'm hoping that we don't try to fix this friendship or unbake the cake that's been going on in your family, because the only thing we can control, guys, is us. We can't control those friends, and we can't control our toxic family members, but we can control us. We're the only ones we can control. And I'm hoping that that's something that you'll choose to do, Joey, because you deserve it. You're worth it. T says, does no contact have to be permanent? You guys are asking the best questions ever. Thank you. Okay. You heard it here. No contact. There's no hard and fast rule. There's no hard and fast line in the sand that says it has to be forever. Okay? No contact is something that is designed specifically for you, to serve your best interests, to help you regain your sanity or claim your sanity for the very first time ever, depending on when and where your narcissistically abusive relationship happened. So for instance, I dabbled with the idea of going no contact with my family members for quite some time, and I didn't really have the courage to do it. I didn't. I almost was afraid to do it. I mean, if you can picture that, like if there's ever like a time that you need to go no contact with a family member, it's if you're afraid to do so, because obviously there's something toxic about that person. They're not a safe person. Otherwise you wouldn't be afraid of them. You wouldn't be sacrificing yourself and your own well-being just to earn their approval, which obviously you're not going to get anyway, which is why you need to go no contact with them. So no contact doesn't have to be forever. Can it be forever? Sure, it can be forever. But the whole purpose of no contact is to help you regain your sanity. It's to help you get away from the toxic ooze and the crazy making and the shifting in reality and the psychological warfare and all the muck that gets all over you and smears your lens so that you can't see straight. No contact means that you're stepping away from that. You don't have any contact with it whatsoever. You're not going to be looking to see what they post on Facebook, looking to see if they're friends with your friends on Facebook. You're not going to allow them to text you or stop by. You're not going to be showing up at certain family functions. You're not going to reach out and to connect with them, or, because your magical thinking tells you that it's going to be different this time. Like history has spoken and it's not changing. And if this person that you're needing to go no contact with has been this way for, 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years, chances are they're not going to change. And so the thing that needs to change, if you're going to grab a hold of your sanity, is you. It's got to be us, friends. It's got to be us. So no contact doesn't have to be forever. And there is a such thing as low contact. There is a such thing as low contact for those here who are stuck in a legal custody situation where your narcissist, your toxic person, your personality disordered individual happens to be someone that you are legally bound to co-parent, which there's not really any co-parenting that goes on there. They don't know how to be parents. Parents are people who are actually fully present for their children and validate their children's reality and life experience. So the narcissist doesn't know how to do that for their children, which is why this YouTube channel pretty much exists probably. But so if you are stuck in a legal situation where you actually have to stay legally connected to this other individual who happens to be your child's other parent, then I highly, highly, highly recommend you Google a term called gray rock or low contact, and you master that. And what that means in a nutshell is if they send you 5 paragraphs of like what Richard Grannon calls word salad, if they send you 5 paragraphs of nonsense and crazy making and history revision and psychological warfare nonsense just that's driving you nuts, then you simply respond with, 10 words confirming the time and place you need to meet up so that you can do the swap with your kids or whatever. But if this is a situation where your personality disordered individual, your toxic person is not someone that you're legally bound to because you're over 18 and you're not raising children with this person legally, then I highly recommend you consider no contact until you get your bearings about you and you don't need validation from that person. See, this is where it all falls apart, friends. You guys, family, beautifuls, I love you, but this is what we do. We go out into the world, into our loved ones who were toxic and abusive towards us, and we're looking for any glimmer of hope that could be there, that we're wrong and it's different and they're gonna be great, they're gonna be amazing, it's gonna all work out. Like all this vilifying that we've been doing and the things that we thought were totally evil, it was just our mistake. It was our mistake. We saw it wrong. It was us, it wasn't them. And so we look for the glimmer. Like we remember them being nice. We can remember it. It was so awesome. It might've been a week ago, a month ago, a decade ago, but we remember it was real. They were nice. But what we don't realize is that they might've been being nice to gain something and it wasn't real. And we need to give up the hope that we've just been making it up all along, because guess what? We haven't. I don't know your situation intimately, but I'm willing to bet that you didn't make all this up just for funsies. No one wants to become suicidal because the very closest people in their entire lives have become very predatory and have scooped out their insides and everything that person was, and then filled it with a whole bunch of nonsense and things that resemble feelings but just aren't. And then we're just in close touch with that person and we feel sicker and sicker and sicker and crazier the closer we get to them and the more we hang out with them. No one does that for funsies. No one. I don't care who you are. And so what we do is we hope that we're wrong. We hope that we're wrong and that it's going to work out. And we want to see the good in everybody. But sometimes we can't do that if we want to remain sane. And if we want to be strong, if we want to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, and we want to get our head out of that toxic ooze, and, no contact being permanent, it could be a really beneficial thing if you find a way to make it work and, they're finally like, they get it and they've found a new source of narcissistic supply and you're no longer it. And, that's a fantasy land also, because I've gone no contact with several of my family members. And do you want to know what's going on? Did they just walk away nicely and go, oh, I guess Athena doesn't want to stay in touch with us anymore. Darn, we love her. She's amazing. No, that's not what happens. No, that's not what's going on. In fact, there's triangulation going on. A family member that I happen to stay in touch with, their mouth opens up and then my toxic family member's words come out of them. Why? Because they've been scooped in. They've been lured in. They've been hoovered. And they get their head filled with this nonsensical bullshit. And then when they get in contact with me, out of their mouth flows the words of the toxic person that I've been trying to stay no contact with, or the people that I've been staying no contact with. So you guys, it's not a perfect science, but it's pretty darn close to a perfect science. Toxic equals I'm not in touch with them. And healthy boundaries. I'm going to establish and maintain healthy boundaries, which protect my sanity. Yeah. And then safe people. We find out what safe traits are and what unsafe traits are. And those things work. And I don't know if I'm going to plan on staying no contact with the family members that I'm no contact with. Or if one day I'm going to wake up and I'm going to change my mind and just decide that, you know what, I don't need anybody's approval anymore. I don't need anybody's validation. I don't need anybody to validate my reality or my experience in life because I know what happened. I'm confident in it. I remember it very clearly. And I don't need them to go, you know what, you're right. I was abusive. You're right. I was irrational. I was unreasonable. You're right. I exploited you. I lent you out. I traded you. I gave you away to people. I wasn't a very good human being and I'm really sorry. And I just miss you. I miss your laugh. I miss you. I just miss being around you. You're funny and you're kind, and I just miss you. Can we start over? I own it. I own it all. I own all the bad things I've ever done. And I've just, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Will you please ever forgive me? Can we just, I just want a relationship with you. Like, that's probably not going to happen, guys. That was a big fantasy land episode right there. What I just did. Yeah. That's what most of us wish. Most of us just, if we had one of those genies that floated in, like the genie in the bottle, and all we had to do was rub the lamp, and we could have one wish, just one wish, just one, only one wish, only one. We could wish for anything. We could wish for $1 gazillion, but would we? No. Many of us, we would wish that one person that has devastated us and scooped out our insides and left us this shell of a human, we would spend our one wish on them, that they would just know how much we love them. And that our amazing, pure, unconditional love would change them and change their heart and make them realize that they've been wrong all along, and that we really are a good person, and we really are deserving of their love, and that we just want to have it be the way we always wanted it to be. We would waste our one wish on them. But guess what? They wouldn't. They wouldn't waste their wish on us at all. They wouldn't even cross their mind. I would bet you the $1 gazillion that I could have had with my wish that I would never cross their mind. Not for a half of a second. They would never do that. Why? Because they're a toxic individual that isn't okay. They're just not right. And they're not ever going to apologize. And if they do, watch out, because they're tricking you. And, it's just never going to magically be better. And it's so hard to just let go of the hope. But friends, like we've been talking about lately, I've had some really, really, really come to Jesus moments with a lot of you. I've had these heart-to-heart conversations. We've had these DMs come through, and these messenger messages, and these emails, and these voice messages that you leave me. And, and I'm responding, and I'm doing the best I can. I'm just one human. But I think I've shared with all of you very transparently, you guys, it is not in our best interests to seek after a relationship with someone who has showed us who they really are, and we just don't want to believe it. But when someone shows you who you really, really, really are, trust it. Trust it. It is so hard, you guys. It is so painful. It is so painful. It's not this easy thing to just get over. It's not. It's devastating. It is absolutely devastating to grieve the loss of someone who was supposed to love you. I don't want to make light of this. You guys, this isn't easy. It's not easy. This is hard, 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 and painful and devastating, but it's possible. I'm telling you, it's possible. If I can heal, any of you can heal. And if I can heal, you can heal better and faster and more. I know it. I know it. Yes, and the grief does come in waves. Sharon, you're absolutely right. The grief does come in waves, you guys. It doesn't come all at once. Grieving is not a one and done. We don't just get to grieve once. It's like this, we feel it, and then we move forward, and then we fall back, and then we feel it again, and we feel like it's going to take over us, but then it doesn't. And then we feel all right for a minute, but then the grief hits us again. And, it's just not a perfect science, you guys. It's not ever clean. It's not usually a clean break. So great question, T. No contact does not have to be permanent. The only person that can make that decision is you. You are the only person that can make that decision of whether or not no contact is going to be permanent. You and your team. You have a mental health team. You have counselors or therapists or coaches or whoever, your safe group, your safe circle. And if you have a hard time making that decision on your own, then I would enlist the help of people who are informed of your situation. And that's the only person who can make that decision. No one in the whole world, not your family, not your spouse, not your friends, not, you are the one who ultimately has to make that decision of if no contact is going to be permanent. Hunter, Hi, Hunter. High five. Speaking of narcissism, my abuser used arousal purposefully to try to program my body only to respond to him. How can someone deprogram that? Ooh, oh my goodness, Hunter, that is so delicate. Okay, first of all, Hunter, I don't know if I haven't really talked about this at length on this channel, but you're a brave man. And the fact that that man used your body against you is so sick and twisted, because your body, it makes you, Hunter, feel like your body is the enemy, like your body's betrayed you. But that's a lie. And I want to tell you that neuroplasticity is a thing. Through the amazing study of neuroscience and all of the funding that's going towards neuroscience, we are learning just how plastic, for lack of a better, more appropriate term, our brain is. And what that means is if our brain and our body can remember something, it can unremember it, and it can make a different road. And so, for instance, if your body is responding to the thought of him, or if your body is not responding with a new partner unless you think of your abuser, there is a way for you to make new roads. And I would love for you to look into EMDR. And then I also just learned about a new modality from Cami Lindgren, actually, from Living Grace blog, who I found her actually through Matt from survivingmypast.net. And Cami is that, and we interviewed her actually for the summit this year. You guys got to listen to this interview. This woman, this brave, amazing woman, has lived with all these different autoimmune diseases. And you know how there are a lot of people in our community, right, that are living with like Lyme disease or lupus or Epstein-Barr or chronic pain or chronic fatigue or adrenal fatigue, just all kinds of different autoimmune issues and things going on in the body and in the mind. And it's just fascinating, right? And they've been living with this because of the amount of stress they've been carrying. So there's this modality, Hunter, and it's called DNRS. If you go to a website, you guys, called retrainthebrain.com, or is it retrainthebrain.org? If someone could tweet that out and tag Hunter, that would be amazing. Or post it in our groups, you guys. It's retrainthebrain.com or .org. I can't remember which. And it's all about DNRS. It's all about the gal who is part of she's done all these different studies with Harvard University, and she's one of the founding members of this neuroscience board that's in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's the one who developed this DNRS modality. I believe it's called dynamic neuro retraining system. I'm butchering it, but it's DNRS, retrainthebrain.org or .com, and it's incredible. And Hunter, there's hope. Hunter, you are a young man, and I know that you have a deep desire to have healthy interpersonal relationships, and you've been doing the hard work. You've been here and you've been doing the hard work. And I know that you are going to heal. And I know that this isn't always going to plague you. You are the one who will heal, Hunter. You will heal. I know it. So please don't lose hope. There is hope. Through neuroplasticity, there is hope. And I know that we've talked about the book, Body Keeps the Score, and I know you've mentioned that you love that book. There's a certain chapter in the book, Body Keeps the Score by Besser van der Kolk. I would love for you to find that chapter on, I'm going to butcher it now. So I have to find the name of the chapter, and then I'll post it in the group for you. Okay. But thank you for being brave and for asking your question, Hunter, because so many people are going to benefit from me answering your question. There are people listening and watching right now who honestly will not, they'll be in a physical, intimate relationship with their spouse or with their partner, and they have been for years, and they're unable to feel arousal unless they imagine themselves being abused. I get these types of emails every single week. These men and women who have been sexually abused from a very, very young age, they literally cannot experience authentic arousal in any other way other than to imagine themselves being abused by their abuser. And then they're able to get to a point of climax. But that's the only way. And that's with their partner that they're currently with. And it's this deep, dark secret that they're very, very, very ashamed of, even though the shame doesn't belong to them. So you're not alone. And I just want you to know that there's hope. Through neuroplasticity, there is hope. I am telling you there is hope, because the brain tells the body what to do. And if we can learn it, we can unlearn it, and we can learn something different. I hope that's helpful, Hunter. Thank you for being brave. You're amazing. High fives. Joey says, how can I go no contact with a person who I considered a friend? I love her and she has been there for me, but she did me wrong. I just can't let her go. Why can't I just say goodbye? Well, it's likely, it could be something called trauma bonding. And that is that your friend has been this person who has been with you throughout all of this trauma that you've lived through. Joey, I would love for you to Google a term called trauma bonding. And I would love to see if any of that resonates with you. But, you know, we talked about this in one of our interviews today that we recorded for the summit. And that is that many of us that are struggling with going no contact, we struggle initially because we think we need to feel the feelings. We think we need to feel like it's time to go no contact. We think we need to feel like that's what we're going to do. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes we need to do the right thing and the feelings follow. So that's going to be your choice, Joey. It's going to be your choice. You're going to either have to choose to have a healthy boundary and say, I have no room for toxic people in my life. I'm sorry. And then let the feelings follow. That's only a choice that you're going to have to make. But the reason, to answer your deeper question, why can't I just let her go? It's the same reason why I had a hard time having no contact with some of my loved ones. And that's because the trauma that we experienced together at the hands of other people, or that we witnessed with one another, is this like bond. It's like we felt like we were like, you know, close like sisters, but that's not the type of bond that's healthy. And those types of bonds lie to us. So Joey, when you Google the term trauma bond, you can also Google a term called Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. Those are the terms I'd like you to Google, Joey. But, you know, you just have to make a choice, Joey. It's just making a choice. I'm either going to choose to have toxic people in my life because I have time for that, or I just don't have time for toxic people in my life. My health matters. And I'm not going to sacrifice my health anymore. I'm not going to sacrifice myself on the altar of everyone else's approval for any longer, because I've done it for long enough. And that's hard to do. It's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And I would, as a coach, I can't take my coach hat off. I'm just going to tell you right now, the way you worded your last sentence, I just can't let her go. Why can't I just say goodbye? You use the word can't twice, and you either can or you can't. Either way, you're right. So I would encourage you to reframe that question and reframe that sentence. Why have I not been able to let her go so far? Why am I struggling to let her go? Because if you're telling yourself that you can't, then you're right, you can't. So I hope that was helpful. Trina, I'm so happy to see you. Trina says, I have been no contact for 7 years, but some drama happened and suddenly it wasn't. Fixing it took boundaries, but ugh. Oh my goodness. First of all, who are these superheroes that can stay no contact for 7 years? Like, not one, but two of you exist here tonight. Trina and Paul have both been no contact for 7 years, which is a superhuman strength. It is not something that comes easily, and it is not natural. It is painful, and it takes grit and tenacity and courage and strength and like seriously superhumanness. So the fact that you're even able to do that, like, We're not worthy. We're not worthy. What movie is that? Come on, guys. Where are my 80s peeps? Kalisha. I'm so happy you're here. Kalisha says, unfortunately, I'm only low contact with my parents. I hope to go no contact. Kalisha, the fact that you're able to even be low contact is huge. And you guys, just for any of you who aren't familiar with all this lingo, you're like, I am new here and I have no clue what this woman is talking about. What is all this no contact, low contact? What's a narcissist? Like, I thought it was someone that looked in a pool of water in Greek mythology. Like, just do a little Google search for you so that you can be mind blown. And then come back and watch this video. But Kalisha, low contact is nothing to sneeze at. Yes, Matt. Wayne's World, party time. Excellent. Woo, 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 woo. Yeah, so low contact, Kalisha, is big. I had a very, 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 very hard time with low contact. Very hard time. I did low contact with my dad for 3.5 years. And it was way more painful than going no contact with my other loved ones. It was just like, there's this like gray, blurry line. And like, for me, no contact was like, nope, it's no contact. And it was like, okay, I got this, come on, Athena, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. But for some reason, for me, low contact was a lot more difficult because it was like, well, maybe I'll sacrifice my sanity just a little bit today and it'll be all right. And, and then it ends up like, I go to give of myself just a little bit and I end up giving all of myself, and it was just really, 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 really hard. So Kalisha, I bow down. I just had a hard time with it. Seriously, it was harder than no contact for me. No contact, though, I will tell you right now, I think Poppy's Mission made a meme out of this, but no contact is a glimpse of what your daily dose of sanity looks like. It is the beginning of your daily dose of sanity, your daily recommended dose of sanity. And it is just, it's mind-blowing. You actually discover who you are for the first time, and it's amazing. So thank you for your comments and questions, Trina and Kalisha and Joey and Hunter and Paul and John Harvey. I'm so happy to see you. John Harvey says, how do you handle when you can't do no contact and everything is good? You know it happened, but everyone acts like everything's fine. And if you tell the truth, they will not believe. You will not be believed, and it will cause more conflict. Well, that's sticky, John Harvey. It's on one hand, it's sticky, and on the other hand, it's not. So it's like we were talking about just a moment ago. Like, you just have to choose. Like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm going no contact. It's the right thing to do. I'm going to be, I really care about my sanity. And you know what's going to happen, John Harvey? It's going to come to the moment, and it won't happen right away. It might, but usually it doesn't happen right away. But it comes to the point where one moment in time happens, and you decide that you value your sanity more than you value the opinions of other people. And you're just like, I'm free. Oh my gosh. Because remember, we talked last week, if we're people pleasing, we stay sick, sick, sick. The more we people please, the sicker we get. So if I'm reading this question correct, you are saying you can't do no contact. I would encourage you to reframe that and say you haven't been able to do it so far. Please, just at the very least, take everything else I say to you and throw it out the window, but take this one thing, and that is just reframe that statement. It's not that you can't do no contact. It's that so far it's been difficult. It's been a difficult step for you to take so far. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean you can't do it. because you can do it. You just haven't been able to do it yet. And it is hard to do it when everything's good, right? Because you're being gaslit. They want you to remember the good times. And chances are you're dealing with a covert narcissist, because the overt narcissist can just be a-holes all the time. But the covert ones are like, they're wounded and everything's really sweet and good and they're depending on you. And don't you remember the good times? And oh, remember when we used to do this? And why are you being so mean to me? Don't you know that I'm the one that's wounded here? I'm stabbing you right now and you're bleeding everywhere. But why are you hurting me so much? You're just always so mean. I'm stabbing you. You're gushing. You're going to bleed out. You're going to die any second. But ow, why are you hurting me, John Harvey? You're so mean. You're just so self-centered. It's always about you. Like they twisted on you, right? They twisted on you. And you're like, I'm mean. I'm horrible. Like, what was I thinking? I'm just a horrible person. And here you are. You're bleeding out. You're going to die any second. But because they've twisted it all around in your head. Yeah, they are the incessant victims. Hey, Heather, I'm so excited you're here. So, John Harvey, I want you to grasp onto that moment. Like you said in your second sentence. You know it happened. And by what you mean by that is, you know there was abuse. You know there was abuse, but everyone acts like everything's fine. And what that means is that your covert narcissist has enlisted flying monkeys. Google that term. If you guys haven't done it yet, it's super fun. So Google flying monkeys, Google triangulation, Google gray rock, no contact, low contact. Google these terms, you guys. Be mind blown. Educate yourself. Come on now. We can do this together. Of course, everybody's going to act like everything's fine. They want you. They're scapegoating you. Google scapegoat if you would. I mean, come on. You guys know this stuff. I know you do. And if you tell the truth, no one will believe you and it will cause more conflict. Of course, because they want it all to be your fault. They want you to stay in this insane situation that's going to cause you your sanity. And they want you to own it and make it all your fault. And no one else is going to own anything. They're not going to own any part of it. It's crazy. It's crazy making. The whole thing's crazy making. But I want to encourage you, John Harvey, that their reality is not the real reality. And this moral relativism that they're trying to choke you with is a bunch of BS. If there was abuse and there was some toxicity, you deserve to be sane and step away from that and not allow it to affect you. We need to stop people pleasing and sacrificing our sanity and ourselves on the altar of everyone else's approval. We need to. We need to. Megan Morris, I'm so happy you're here, Megan. Megan says, thank you, Athena, for covering this topic. You are welcome, Megan. I'm finally covering this topic. I've danced around it for 3 years, so it's time to cover it head on. I really interested in Vinny's question. I didn't get Vinny's question. I'm probably going to read it any second here. So thank you so much for whoever just put that. I just got a little glimpse of it. I'm really interested in it too. If someone could reach out, I want to make sure I answer Vinny's question. So if someone could get in touch with Vinny, maybe Dawn or Matt, and find out what Vinny's question was, because I missed it. I'm so sorry. I'm not able to see the Periscope the way that I normally do, you guys. My little stand is, it's in a different spot because it was falling. So Megan says, I'm currently considering going no contact with my grandmother. So this is right on time. Sending my love and gratitude. Oh, I receive your love and your gratitude, Megan. Thank you so much. And I want to encourage you that if you are going to be going no contact with your grandmother, just be very patient and very kind with yourself. Please be very patient and very kind with yourselves, you all, if you're going to be considering going no contact. It can be very confusing. It is very confusing because, again, if you're dealing with someone who's covert, they're going to spin it around on you and they're going to make you the bad guy. And then you're going to go, gosh, what was I thinking? And, and you're going to start taking it on. And it's so hard. So I want to encourage you guys to stay strong. Okay. Just stay strong. Whatever you do, please stay strong. You can do this. And I'm sending my love and my gratitude to you too, Megan. I'm really grateful for you. And I know you can do this. You are strong. You have been through so much. Hey, Jess. Jess says, is it wrong to ask my parents not to mention my rapist's name again and want an apology for bringing him back into the family? Is it wrong that I want to go no contact with my parents? I'm going to tackle this in two parts, okay, guys? Jess, first of all, I just want to look at you. Like, I just want to hold your face. If Jess is not here right now, figure out what minute this is in the video, right around minute number 55, maybe, and tell her to turn it on at this time. Because Jess, I just want you to know something, okay? First of all, you should have never been raped. No one deserves to be raped. You wanting your life experience to be validated by your parents and your family and telling you how sorry they are that you were violated and that you should have been safe and you should have been loved and you should have been protected and you should have been cared for, and this should have never happened to anybody. Rape is a crime. You've been the victim of a crime. And people who commit crimes go to prison and they get the death penalty, or they spend their life in prison forever and ever because it's a crime. And you have had a senseless, horrible, brutal, barbaric crime committed against you. And that should have never happened. Someone should have protected you. And if I were your parent, I would be saying, I should have protected you, Jess. I should have been the one that protected you. You were entrusted into my care, and I failed to protect you. It's my fault. It's not your fault. You should have never, ever, ever been victimized. And the fact that this person is back in the family and that I've allowed this person back into the family, that's inexcusable. Inexcusable. It's not wrong, Jess. I'm done being the parent now, and I'm just telling you right now, it's not wrong, okay? It's not wrong that you're hurt. It's not wrong that you want to go no contact. It's not wrong that you don't want your rapist's name mentioned to you, which is very triggering and invalidating. It's not wrong. No one should ever do those things to you, allow those things to be done to you, and then allow you to be re-traumatized and re-victimized by bringing your rapist back into the family. And the fact that you want an apology from your parents, that's not wrong. But if it's just you and I sitting here, girl to girl, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic that those people who call themselves your parents, it's unrealistic that they will ever apologize. And to go just a little bit further, they don't deserve you. They don't deserve your kindness and your love, and they don't deserve to have a relationship with you. You deserve people who will love you for who you are and tell you how amazing you are and that you never should have been violated. You deserve to have people be kind and considerate and to have reciprocity in your relationships. You treat someone kind, they treat you the same. You have a friendship. There's no exploitative behavior going on. That's what you deserve, Jess. The fact that you're stuck in this sick situation, it just breaks my heart. And it makes me, quite frankly, it makes me pissed off. And if every ounce of the mama bear in me wants to go just beat the shit out of whoever it is that's doing this to you and allowing these things to happen to you. And those people that call themselves your parents, they do owe you an apology. They owe you more than that. They owe you more than an apology, but it's unrealistic to believe that they're ever going to change. The only thing that you can control is you, and to step away and honor yourself and honor that little you that was victimized and protect her and do what's right by her. And that's really hard to do because we miss our family. We miss them. But sadly, they don't deserve our love and our care. And that's really painful to say. I know, because I've been in a similar situation. I confessed to my mother all the things that happened to me. This is before I had an inkling that it was her that was sort of the ringleader with one of my other family members. And she continued to mention his name around the table at Thanksgiving. And then when I called her out on it, she's like, what are you even talking about? And then when she admitted that she remembered me telling her, she told me I was being overly sensitive and that I just needed to mellow out. Lighten up, she said. Lighten up. Like, what's that? Oh, I'm sorry that your brother molested me when I was 5 and made me do things to him, and you knew about it, and I'm completely fucked up now, and every relationship I've ever had has been destroyed all because of you and your brother, and now you're talking about him at Thanksgiving. Yeah, that's really fucked up. Like, really? Like, what reality is that even in? You know? So it's not wrong, Jess, that you want an apology, but it's not likely. So if Mama Bear Me could scoop and pick you up and take you somewhere safe where you didn't need to be in contact with those people, that's what Mama Bear Me would do. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for being brave and sharing your truth here. A lot of people are going to benefit from you sharing that, Jess. Jody, hi, Ohana. I'm so happy you're here. Thoughts on how to set boundaries for a narcissistic relative who wants contact again? Just say no. I would leave it gray rock. I would leave it gray rock. I would use the fewest amount of words possible. And as Richard Grannon would say, non serviam. I would prefer not to. You know, Jody, I know you. I happen to have the privilege of knowing a little bit about you and a little bit about your truth. And you're a very strong woman. And unless you can re-engage with this particular person without needing any validation from them, then I would say don't. But if you're feeling super strong and you're like, rawr, like, who are you? Think, you know, to this person, unless you're feeling super duper strong, I wouldn't re-engage. But if you're feeling relatively strong and like you're not looking for any type of validation from them, because they will invalidate you and they'll flip it on you and they'll make you out to be the bad guy. As long as you're ready for that, then I would establish and maintain very, very healthy boundaries, like communicate with them. If you do this and this, then I will need to, you know, not be in contact with you. Or if you would please keep our conversation on these particular topics and these topics are off limits, then yes, I will be in contact with you. If you could communicate, you're a very, very, very good communicator, Jody. So if you can communicate that way, like very clearly, and let them know, hey, this is the deal. You abide by that, then cool, we'll be in touch. Otherwise, no, ain't having it. Then that would be what I would recommend for sure. T says, my mom guilt trips me and I get the tears from her when I try to set boundaries when I feel bad. That's because the covert narcissist loves to flip the script. They're the ones that stab you while you bleed out all over the floor and they say, ow, 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 why are you hurting me? Ow, while you're bleeding out all over the floor. They flip it on you. They're the victim. Remember, if they can't be the biggest hero in the room, the one that everybody looks to, they will be the biggest victim in the room. And it will be all your fault. That's why. Jack says, I've gone no contact with my abuser, but every phone call I have with my abuser says, I love you. Okay, I'm going to pause there before I read the rest of it, because if you've gone no contact with someone, that means no contact. So no contact, meaning they're not able to call you and tell you they love you. So that's not true no contact. You might be low contact with this particular person, but if they're still able to reach out and like get connected with you on text or telephone or what have you, that's not no contact. So you've gone low contact with your abuser, but every phone call ends with your abuser saying, I love you. And I always say, but I don't love you. Any love that I have tried to give was ripped from me by them a long, long time ago. I say what I do after I hang up the phone. I don't say it directly to them. I'm familiar with you doing this, Jack, and I know that this is something that you do for your sanity. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you've stayed in touch with your abuser because you have children and you know, that's their grandparents, and you have a relationship with one of your parents who isn't your abuser, but not your other parent who is your abuser, you know, and, you know, much respect for you for being able to handle that. I personally am not able to handle that. I was not able to do that. I had to just cut it off completely, which means no phone calls, no I love yous, no none of that. Like, it just, because every single email or text or voicemail or anything would just stab me, and I felt like I was hemorrhaging out, and it was too painful for me because it was so crazy making. So, you know, kudos to you if you can handle the low contact, but this isn't true no contact, and I hope that's helpful. And I say continue to honor what you need to honor for the reasons that you're honoring what you're needing to honor. Poppy's mission says, I have been no contact for under 2 months. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. The guilt is horrific. Yes. Yes, the guilt is horrific at first, you guys. Why? Because they flip it on you. Like, if you were to ask one of your abusers, like, hey, abuser, you know, someone came up and they keyed your car and they messed your car up and scraped it all up and carved things in the side of your car. Would you stay in contact with that person and like allow them to like be friends with you even though they keyed your car? Your abuser would be like, no, are you kidding me? I would beat the crap out of them. But if you flip it on them and they're like, yeah, but like, you've done way more than key my car. Like, you've carved these horrible words into my psyche, into my soul, into my heart, and you expect me to stay in contact with you. Like, what's up with that double standard? And they'll flip it on you if you try to do that. So don't try to do that. I'm giving you a practical example. They'll flip it on you and they'll say, well, that's unfair because, you know, I've plenty of times I've told you that I've loved you and I've done this. And remember when I bought you your favorite pair of pants when you were 9? And remember those Buster Brown shoes that you really wanted? Remember that t-shirt that you really wanted when you went to that, like, I did all these other things for you and, you know, you're so ungrateful. And then they'll turn it around on you. So, I mean, it's just, you guys, it's so worthless. Like, trying to argue these types of things is, I want to acknowledge and validate, Poppy, the guilt is horrific because they're masters at flipping the script. And the fact that you've been able to do it for 2 months is a testament to your strength and your grit and your tenacity, and you're just amazing. So it is the hardest thing that I've ever done, but it gets easier over time. And I look back and it's probably one of the best things I've ever done. So I'm cheering you on, Poppy. I'm cheering you on. Hope for the Future says, the nice times are so confusing. Yes. Yes. Cognitive dissonance much? Google that term, y'all. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. It will describe how you're feeling, because it's like all of these abusive feelings and these memories of the abuse that are so real, and you're just like, you're just in so much pain from the tip of like your hair all the way to your fingers and your toes and everything on your inside. And you're just aching. Like, you just wish you could die because you're in so much pain from this abuse that you've gone through. But then you remember the good times and how when they hug you, they smell a certain way, or they make the best potato salad, or their laugh, or that one time when you were 7 and they really were nice to you, and it was you and them against the world, and you sort of ganged up on other people together, and it was you, the 2 musketeers. Yes, the good times. Poof, gone. It is a myth. It is never coming back. It is only there to keep you stuck. And I wish I could delete it for you because it's just not real, you know? It's painful, you guys. This stuff is so painful. Oh my gosh, it's painful. The guilt, the nice times, all of it. Paul Ward says, wow. He says, wow, I'm loving this so much truth. You are describing me. I will heal. Yes, you will heal. Yes, you will, Paul. I know you will. I know you will. We are the ones who will heal. Say it with me. We are the ones who will heal. We are the ones who will heal. We are the ones who will heal. Where are my YouTube peeps at? We are the ones who will heal. We are the ones who will heal. We are the ones who will heal. We will. Why? Because we are worth it. Because we are worth it. Because we are worth it. We are the ones who will heal because we are worth it. I need like one tattooed there and one tattooed there. We are the ones who will heal because we are worth it. Yes, right? Who's with me? I feel like Braveheart. Hope for the future. Hope for the future says, when you go no contact, they go on the attack. Your abuser's world might as well end. Yes, because they are starving. What are they starving for? Narcissistic supply. Google that. If you haven't Googled narcissistic supply, Google it. The reason they go crazy is because they have incurred something called a narcissistic injury. Google that. Education. Knowledge is power, peeps. Knowledge is power. Narcissistic injury, narcissistic supply, narcissistic rage. You guys, come on. Who's with me? Let's get prepared for this summit coming up on Thursday in 3 days. Let the countdown begin. Katie Welch, thank you. Thank you, Hope for the Future, by the way. Katie Welch says, thanks for covering this topic, Athena. I really need it right now. Currently going through this with my family. I am struggling with it, specifically with my mom, because she's going to throw my only aunt I get along with to know what's going on, or she's stalking my Facebook. But when we are talking, I am everything but a human. And then I turn to other stuff. It all changed after my brother's girlfriend moved in with her. Oh, Katie, that all sounds very, 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 very painful. First of all, you are so welcome. I'm glad that I'm covering this topic. Again, I've danced around it for 3 years, and here I am facing it head on. And you guys, this is something you've been asking for a lot. And I don't know who you are out there, but my emails are going ding, 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 ding. Like the whole time I'm talking, emails are coming through. And I'm not clicking on any of them. The number's just getting bigger. So I'm assuming that's you guys, because that's how you all usually roll. So you're welcome for me covering this topic. I'm glad that I did. I will continue to cover as many topics surrounding narcissistic abuse as I possibly can. I guess what I was trying to do is, like I like referring you to other people who are also covering this topic because I learned from them as well. But if this is something you guys need, then I'm going to continue to do it. Katie Welch says she's struggling specifically with her mom because she's going through her only aunt she gets along with, and something about her wanting to know what's going on, and she's stalking her Facebook. So first of all, stalking's wrong and it's abusive. So you're being abused, and if you're being abused, you're going to need to choose to go no contact if you're going to remain sane, if that's what you're choosing to do. That's what I chose to do, and it needed to happen. So and then there's the cognitive dissonance, because then Katie says, when we're talking, I'm everything but a human, and then I turn to other stuff. And if that means what I think it means that you don't really feel like yourself when you're talking to her. It's almost like you're in like some sort of a weird fuzzy cloud or something. And it's very crazy making. And then when you say you turn to other stuff, if we numb stuff or avoid, we will never heal. We have to feel all of our feels, otherwise we won't heal. I'm only guessing. I'm reading between the lines here. And you're saying it all changed after your brother's girlfriend moved in with her. So perhaps your brother's girlfriend is someone who's not well, or perhaps your brother's girlfriend is now the golden, in air quotes. Google the term golden child if you haven't already done so, so you can be mind blown. And then perhaps now you're the scapegoat. Maybe you were the golden and now you're the scapegoat. That is also, there are no rules The personality disordered individual, the narcissist in your life, chooses who will be the scapegoat, whichever way the wind blows. The only rules that are hard and fast rules in the narcissist's life is the rules that they choose are hard and fast rules in that moment. They can change any second just because they say so, just because they blink, just because they decide. It doesn't matter. There's no rhyme or reason. Remember that. If we apply logic to this situation, we are the ones who suffer because it's never going to be logical. It's never going to make sense. I hope that's helpful, Katie. I'm with you. I'll sit with you during this situation, and I wish that I could do more. But for now, we'll all just sit here with you, and we'll be cheering you on. And I believe that you will heal because you're worth it. Jamie. Hi, Jamie. Jamie Strong says, even if you get those amazing dream apologies from a narcissistically abusive person, it usually doesn't mean anything real. Where is just yes, 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 yes. Everything she just said. It's not real. It's just not real. Not real. Mary Ann, I've missed you, Mary Ann. It's so good to see you back again. I think you were here last week and I said that. I'm just happy to see you. Mary Ann says, what can I tell the person I'm trying to stay clear of because of her toxic talk? I'm not brave enough to tell her the truth. Okay, first I'm going to encourage you to, where's Mary Ann? I want to look right at you. I want to encourage you to reframe that. You've struggled so far to tell her the truth, but you are brave enough. You are. I believe you are brave enough. I believe it. So I want you to reframe that if you possibly can. And you're saying, what should you say? If you want to go like sort of a vanilla, set a boundary in a very unobtrusive way, you could say, when you fill in the blank, I feel fill in the blank. I would prefer if you fill in the blank. And that's one way. So like, when you talk about my abuser, I feel minimized and devalued. I would prefer that you not talk about my abuser. You could take it one step further and say, if you choose to talk about my abuser, I will leave the premises. That's a healthy boundary. So I hope that guided communication is helpful for you. Write that down if you have to. Rewind and watch this over again and write that down. That's the first way that I was ever able to set a healthy boundary in my life, is by using that guided communication that my counselor, Karen, gave me. She gave me permission to do it, and I did it, and it felt really good. So do it. I'm giving you permission the way Karen gave me permission. You can do it. I know you can do it, Marianne. Paul Ward says, how do we heal with the grief? How do we deal with the grief? Wow, that was a Freudian slip, huh? How do we deal with the grief? Grief is a long process, not long, 10 years long, but long, like it can be a while. A very, very, very effective way to deal with grief is by starting with a grief timeline. And I don't mean like, let's write a timeline of everything in the whole wide world that I need to grieve. Like, no. There is a book out there. It's a lavender colored book. And I think it's still in print. These two doctors, they wrote it a really long time ago. And then they did a new like 30th anniversary version or edition. And it's called Grief Recovery. And it was hugely helpful for me grieving. I got it to grieve the loss of a loved one. And it even says in the beginning of the book, if you're purchasing this book because you're grieving the loss of a loved one, it's going to be more helpful for you if you grieve the oldest thing that you need to grieve, like the oldest trauma that you need to grieve first. So what you do is you do a timeline, and it's from like this side to this side, like think it like this. And this is from like your first memory until now. And there's all these little hash marks. And it's anything traumatic that's ever happened to you. You know, your dog died when you were 5. Your parents divorced when you were 7. You got your teeth knocked out because you went head over heels on endo on your handlebars when you were 11. Everybody made fun of you when you were after you went endo on the handlebars because you didn't have any teeth. And so bullying began when you were 12. And so you were bullied from 12 to 15. And so then in order to deal with that bullying, you were numbing, stuffing, and avoiding, or you didn't know how to deal with it. Maybe you were dealing with some suicidal ideation. Maybe you had some anger and some rage because you were bullied for 3 years because you went endo on your handlebar. Like, those are all things that we need to grieve, right? So grief can be complicated. It can be more than one thing. Like, let's say nothing in the whole wide world was ever traumatic for you, and then you lost your pet when you were 20. Well, then that's fantastic that you had nothing traumatic happen to you your whole life. But you're dealing with something now, and you're going to be like dealing with the potential loss of a relationship right now and the reality that surrounded that relationship. And then you lost your pet that died when you were 20. So you're going to go back and you're going to grieve that loss. And when we're doing grief work, you guys, it's super duper helpful for you to ask yourself in the midst of your grief work, what is the feeling attached? What is it that I'm feeling right now? There's actually a wheel of emotions that you can pull up on Google Images, and just type in, you know, emotions, and then go to Google Images, and it's like a circle, and it's like 5 main emotions, and then stacked up with those 5 core emotions are all of the other feelings that go along with those. And you're able to identify how it is that you're feeling, and then allowing yourself to feel all of those feelings. It begins the grief process, the grieving process, which can take quite some time. But it does help us heal, especially from narcissistic abuse and the grief associated with it. Because, you know, narcissistic abuse is interesting because it's not necessarily, you know, all the people that are here on this channel are typically adult survivors of childhood abuse, all different types of abuse, whether it be sexual, religious abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual, all kinds of abuse, right? Emotional abuse, neglect, all kinds of abuse. But when you pull on the string, like picture a sweater, right? And then you realize that you're in a narcissistically abusive relationship with someone who's been in your life for quite some time, and you pull on that string on the sweater. And the moment you pull on that string, the whole sweater begins to unravel and fall into a pile on the floor. Your entire reality, every memory that you had with this person, you begin to question it, right? You question your reality. And it is rarely the actual abuse itself that is the most devastating. It is typically the betrayal that is attached, like the meaning behind the abuse. The betrayal. The betrayal is what the most painful piece is. That someone who was supposed to love you, someone who was supposed to be your friend, someone who was supposed to protect you, someone who was supposed to care for you, someone who was supposed to mentor you, teach you, be a role model for you, someone who was supposed to be there for you in every sense of the phrase. They betrayed you in ways that are indescribable because they have exploited you or shoved feelings aside or invalidated you in all kinds of ways. And that is devastating. That is something that takes a while to heal. So starting a timeline and identifying every single one of your feelings is definitely a good start. I hope that was helpful, Paul. Vinny, I wonder if this is that the question that we were talking about earlier from Vinny that everybody wanted to know about. My sons feel like I kept them from their grandmother, and they really don't understand how much she triangulated my siblings and me. Explaining no contact to children would be a great topic to discuss. How do we tell our children why they cannot see family? Yes. Well, age-appropriate conversation is definitely something that would be a good topic for this channel, because we've done a video on how we share with our children that we were sexually abused, and many of those tactics and nuances would apply here, Vinny. Age-appropriate conversation. Like, for instance, we were talking with Lisa Romano today, and she was talking about how in one moment this whole thing sort of blew up on her birthday. And I won't do any spoiler alerts, but she very plainly explained to her young children grandma was mean to me and we're leaving. And that can be very difficult, and it depends on the child, and it depends on the emotional intelligence of the child. And only you as their mother are the expert in what to say and how to say it. And Vinny, you are a wise, wise woman. You are a wise woman. And if anyone knows how to communicate with your children and what to say and how to say it, it's you. And so that can be very, very, very delicate. And I think I would like to delve deeper in a different video on that, because age-appropriate conversations surrounding low contact or no contact or different nuances in the family, that's a sticky, as Bobby would say, that's a sticky wicket. We should definitely discuss that further. I totally agree. Oh, hey, for DNRS, Hunter, and for anyone else that is interested in the retraining of the brain so you can make new memories if you feel like your body has betrayed you, is retrainingthebrain.com. And that's for a system called DNRS. Hope for the Future says, by the way, thank you, Matt. Thank you for letting me know that website. Hope for the Future says, is it okay to go no contact for a while, and then when you start talking again, you question the past? Yes, it's okay. I would ask you, Hope for the Future, what your purpose is to start talking again. Only you know the purpose behind the meaning and the reason behind why you're talking again, and if that's in your best interest. So it's definitely okay for you to be no contact, and for no matter what situation you're in to start questioning the past. It's always okay to question the past. That's something that we're always going to feel. And I would challenge you, though. I would challenge you and push you and say, do you know what you know, what you know, what you know? Because I believe you know what happened, and you know the truth. I believe you know that you know that you know that you know. In the deep, deep, deep core of your being, I believe that you know what happened, and I think you know the abuse is real. I think that for us survivors, magical thinking is something that we go to and we lean on, because we always want to believe that it's going to get better, and we want to believe that we really can have a relationship with that person. But it's always okay to question the past. It's always okay to question the past. And you want to know something? You can decide to get back in contact with anyone, and then you can change your mind and decide that you're not going to be back in contact with them. You can decide whatever you want to decide. You don't have to stick to it. And, no one says, well, you said we could talk again. And, no one's holding your feet to the fire. If you change your mind, you change your mind, and you can change it back again. Why? Because it's you. It's your choice. It's your choice because you have agency over your body. When we were children, someone needs to hear this. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at you. Someone needs to hear this. When we were children, we didn't have control. When we were children, we were abused, and we were powerless. Powerless. Okay? We're not powerless anymore. We are not powerless anymore. We are not powerless anymore. We need to stand in our power and do what's right. And we need to not sacrifice our sanity on the altar of other people's approval. We're in a war here, guys. I'm telling you. Do not let the personality disordered toxic individual that has you convinced that you're the shitty person and that they're the hero, do not allow them to twist reality on you like that. Every single one of you is here because you want to heal. You are the ones who will heal. We are the ones who will heal. We are the ones who will heal because we are worth it. Do not let them cause you to question your reality. Please. August says, why is going no contact so painful, even though I know it is for the best? And this is the last question of the night, you guys, because we are I have less than 60 seconds to answer this question. I want to be respectful of your time. The reason going no contact is so painful is because we were created for relationship. We have this hole inside of us, and we have deep desire to connect to other people and relate to them. We have a deep desire to have our reality validated by others and to have our experience be impactful and significant. We were created for relationships. That's my belief. It's my belief. And we want to believe deep down that this person can change. We want to believe that we don't need to cut them out of our lives and do that relational surgery. But sometimes when we have gangrene, if we don't do surgery, then gangrene will infect the rest of our limb, and then we'll have to have it amputated up at the hip rather than down at the ankle. So it is painful because abuse is painful. And we want to believe that it didn't happen. We want to believe that we can make it better. But sadly, we can't control other people. And the hardest part about going no contact, and what I believe is one of the most painful parts of it, is that as children who were seeking validation from a caregiver at a very young age, during a period of attachment from birth to 3 years old, that period of attachment, our reality was given to us and cemented into us. How we saw the world happened between ages 0 to 3. If we didn't attach properly to someone who was nurturing and kind and loving, then we have attachment trauma. And attachment trauma hurts worse than any other trauma because it is compounded and it's impacted everything from the time we were little. And all of our relationships were cultivated from that trauma lens, and that we didn't properly attach. So I would Google attachment trauma, and I would really give yourselves permission to be very kind to yourselves right now. This is a heavy, 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 heavy topic. This isn't something that can be properly covered in 90 minutes. I was quite ambitious in taking on the topic of no contact in a 90-minute video, but I didn't. I wanted to honor your request. So that is why it is so painful. I believe, August. The specific question was, why is going no contact so painful? Even though I know it's for the best. Because deep, 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 deep down, we really want what we've always wanted, and that is to have our experience in life validated. And we want to be nurtured, and we want to be loved, and we want to be approved of, and we want to be seen. We want to be seen. We want to be acknowledged. We want to be important to someone. And going no contact means that any hope of being important to that person, or being acknowledged by them, or validated by them, that shifts, it changes. It's counterintuitive. We're pushing it away rather than chasing after it. But I want to encourage each and every one of you that as you choose to go no contact with each and every toxic individual in your life, your sanity will multiply. You will become more emotionally and physically healthy by the day if you choose to slowly but surely go low contact to no contact with the toxic individuals in your life. So I want to encourage each of you, please be kind to yourselves. These videos can be triggering for even hours afterwards. It is an honor to be here with you. I will be right back here broadcasting off and on live throughout the day on Thursday, June 1st, which is World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day. And it's the second Healing from Narcissistic Abuse Virtual Summit. We're kicking it off, and we're actually going to be dripping the videos via email. So if you haven't gone to wnaad.com yet and plug your email address in, then please do that so you can, throughout the month of June, receive access to those interviews with these different practitioners and specialists in the area of narcissistic abuse and healing from narcissistic abuse. So thank you for being here. I will see you in 3 days, and I look forward to responding to as many of your emails as I possibly can. It is impossible for me, one human, to respond to all of your correspondence and all of your DMs and all of your messenger messages and all of your voice messages. I mean, I'm doing the best I can. Again, I'm just one human, but I'm so honored and grateful for each of you caring enough about yourself to show up here every week to heal. We are the ones who will heal because we are worth it. Yes. All right. I love each of you guys, and I'll see you in 3 days on June 1st.